Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. Today we have Kevin Sorbo on the show. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Good to be here. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. So you've got a new movie out in theaters called Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist. Could you tell us a little bit about the movie, what it was like making it, and who's it for?
It's based off the Left Behind books. They were pretty big sellers back in the 90s. I think that 80 million books sold. Jerry Jenkins is the co-author along with Tim LaHaye. And they really started back in 2000, 2001 with Kirk Cameron doing a couple of different movies with him. The last one came out in 2014. Nicolas Cage was in it. I took over that role as Rayford Steele because what happened is at the same time that movie coming out, my movie God's Not Dead came out, and it was a pretty big hit. And the Cloud 10 guys based out of Toronto that own the rights to the books, I got inundated with mail from people saying, "Why do you have Nicolas Cage? It should be Kevin Sorbo." So they actually flew to LA when I was living. I live in Florida now. I left California. I live in the free state of Florida. So they flew out to California when I was there at the time and said, "Hey, we're doing the next movie with you." I had a lot of stuff going on. They had a lot of stuff going on. Timing was always bad for both of us, one of us or whatever. And so finally, 2 years ago, they said, "We're set to go. I understand you're set to go." They rewrote the script, which I love what they did because I love the original script they showed me back in 2015 for the sequel. But I was like, we're going to do a total rewrite. And I said, "What? I like what you got going." But they were completely right because they brought it into today's world. You guys said you saw it. So you can see a lot of stuff going on in today's world was put in there on purpose. Mm-hmm. Pandemic, fear as the weapon governments love to use. The one world government, the one currency, all that kind of stuff was going on. So they made it very current day. And I was blessed to be able to direct this thing. It was awesome. We put together a great cast with Neil McDonough and Corbin Burnson. Greg Perot played Buck. He did a fantastic job. Sarah Fisher played my daughter. She and I did a couple movies before. And it was just really, really amazing to be part of this movie. And people are responding to it quite well. I think we have a 91% average capacity in over 15 screens, plus a 97% Rotten Tomatoes approval from audience. I'm sure Rotten Tomatoes hates that because those guys are pretty much against America and anything to do with God. So I kind of love it myself.
No, absolutely, for sure. I was wondering maybe what are kind of some of the messages you want to get across both to believers and non-believers, because I really do believe there's something in there for all sorts of people when they go to watch it.
There's no question. Yeah, it's based on the rapture. It's based on the book of Revelation. But it's really, I tell people, look, this is like an action thriller more than anything else. It's based on the rapture where all the Christians will disappear. People can take that story however way they want to take it, but that's basically what the book of Revelation talks about. And I hope people have conversations about it. Look, I love an Avengers movie too. I love the visual effects, and you walk out like a roller coaster ride. But I want to do movies that make people think a little bit, talk a little bit. And I'm hoping they open up and read the book of Revelation. I read it when I was 12 years old for the first time. It scared the hell out of me. I mean, it reads like a scary sci-fi movie more than anything else. But I hope people get together and have a conversation on this. We have a number of people, not just churches, that want to screen this for larger groups. That's not my world. They got to do that through the production company, Cloud 10 up in Canada. But I love the fact that it's getting a lot of buzz and a lot of talk right now.
No, definitely. And you kind of mentioned too that you got the opportunity to direct this movie, and you started directing movies with Let There Be Light back in 2017, if I'm correct on that. Yeah. So how is that?
Well, actually, I started directing back in the 90s when I was doing Hercules.
Oh, really?
So that's when I first started directing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, there we go. So yeah. I guess kind of how has this journey been to more directing roles, and how has being in the director's chair helped bring what you want to bring into the movies, more likely?
Well, I know the actor side of it, I mean, I always liked it when I first moved to LA. I grew up in a small town, Minnesota. When I first moved out there, and some of these acting classes I was in, there were directors in there, which I thought was pretty cool, because I think it's important that, you read a book and you have a picture in your mind what the movie should be like. How many times do you hear, "Oh, the book was so much better," because our minds, they still don't have enough visual effects to do what our minds can do yet. And I just thought it was wonderful they do that, because I look at some of the great directors out there that are actors, from Clint Eastwood to Mel Gibson, to Kevin Costner. not saying they make better directors, but there are great directors. And I love the fact that when I get on a set, I let the cast work things out once we're on the location, because it's me, this is the room we're shooting it in. You guys feel it out. Let's just have a rehearsal with it and just go where your body feels that you need to go, because your character sort of demands that in a way. So I call myself an actor's director, being an actor myself. So I love the actors to find the role, find the feel in the space that they're working in for that day. And I think it's worked out quite well. And I respect everybody's position on there. I love the creative process. I love getting on movie sets, television sets. I still get excited like it was my first time ever doing it. I love that whole, I call it organized chaos. I mean, I always tell people that have never been on a set, if you look down from bird's eye view, it's just craziness going on. You got hair and makeup, you got lighting people, you got camera guys over here, it's just all this stuff. And action, and it goes into the scene. And cut, it goes back to this organized chaos stuff. So I love that. I love the buzz. I love working with creative people. So I'm going to keep doing it. I got at least one of the movie I'm directing this year. I've got 3 more other movies lined up that I'm going to be acting in and producing in. And I have 5 movies that I shot last year that are in post-production now. This movie, along with the Reagan movie, the one Left Behind, the Reagan movie, and Let There Be Light. Not Let There Be Light. That's another movie I directed. Miracle in East Texas. So Miracle in East Texas, I directed. The Reagan movie, I acted in. Those movies are coming out later in the year, probably September, October. And then those were all shot in 2021. Now 2022, I've shot 5 movies. And those will all be out late this year or early 2024. So knock on wood, I love staying busy. I love that, I'm still in a business that I've been in over 40 years of my life and still making a living at it.
I got a kind of a natural question that popped up when we
Sure.
watched the movie yesterday. We walked out of the theater and me and Jared both looked at each other and we're like, man, how does a movie like this get approved to be in movie theaters in 2023? It's a great movie. It's very Christian. It's very conservative. So it's the opposite of what you see in theaters almost exclusively. So I was kind of wondering how hard it is to get a movie like this, in a movie theater, because we looked it up. We looked up showings near us, and there was one 10 minutes away. So I mean, it's readily available at any Cinemark, any movie theater near you. So I was curious how hard it is to get something like that in.
You know what's interesting? What you said is sad, because there's a lot of truth to it, and that's unfortunate that we live. I mean, we are getting censored now. People are getting, look, Facebook took me down for telling the truth. I was telling the truth about COVID. I was telling the truth about masks. And I was basing it off all the other people that were talking about that from other countries, even in our country, but there are a lot of doctors saying this and saying that. And a lot of people say, it's science. You can't question science. And I started laughing when people said that, going, but that's what science is. They're always questioning why or what or where or how. That's what science is. So for people to tell us this, not to question the science, it just totally cracked me up. But Facebook took me down for speaking the truth. And I could say those things today, and they wouldn't be able to take me down. But the trolls there and that little wussy Zuckerberg pussy guy, he just, they're too afraid to talk to me one-on-one. And it cracks me up. There's so much hate and anger from these people. And they think their hate and anger towards people like you or towards me is going to make them feel better about themselves. And all it does is make them feel worse about themselves, because it doesn't affect my lifestyle whatsoever. I could care less. But I posted on Twitter, which I'm still on. People can follow me at KSorbs, KSORBS. My buddies call me Sorbs. I posted one thing. I said, I need more conspiracy theories because mine keep coming true, which is very truthful on that. But you know what? We had theaters that wouldn't promote it. They wouldn't show the trailer for it in other theaters, but it's coming. They wouldn't put a poster up for it. My wife put together a big group of people here in Florida in West Palm Beach to go see it. And she was running a little late. She got there just before it started. And she walked up and said, yeah, what theaters, Left Behind showing on? Oh, we're not showing that here. And she looked at me, we're not showing it here. I got a bunch of people here right now that are seated in the theater for it. And he looked again and went, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's in that number, theater number 7. And it's amazing to me that people have this kind of, these are the ones that scream for freedom of speech, right? These are the ones that scream for tolerance. But as you know, it's a one-way street with these bozos. And it's really unfortunate. But, this is the battle we have. And I'm telling you what, you guys got to keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because politics runs downstream from culture, and Hollywood and the mainstream media run the culture. And we got to do what we can from our end to fight back. We may not have billions of dollars, but I know I'm putting a little dent in every time I get myself out there.
I was going to ask you when you, especially when you were younger, was it hard to manage your faith being in the Hollywood culture, or was that something that was pretty unshaken always?
Well, you know what? I never really worried about it. It wasn't until about 10, 12 years ago that it became a thing. I mean, I think I was pretty open to being a conservative in Hollywood and being a Christian in Hollywood. I didn't hide in it. I wasn't like in the closet. But, you know, the conservatives in Hollywood are the new gays. They're the ones who are hiding in the closet. The gays are completely out of the closet now. So it's funny when I'm on a movie set or a television set, I get people coming up to me now, either side of the camera, whether they're actors or camera guys, whatever, and very quietly, like we're doing a drug deal, saying, "Hey, man, thanks for being a voice for us." And I go, "Dude, be a voice for yourself." But here's what happened to me. About 11 years ago, my manager and agent said, "We can't work with you anymore." I actually got blacklisted from Hollywood. Well, I love the business. Hollywood doesn't owe me anything. And I don't harbor that anger and that hate that they have towards someone like me. But as I said, they're the ones that scream for tolerance, but they don't have tolerance for anybody who has a different point of view. And that's just weird to me. I mean, this country was founded on freedom of speech, but we're losing freedom of speech all the time. You know, they're redefining history now. They're rewriting history now. I mean, they don't teach civics in school anymore. I don't think they teach the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. We have a government today that is worse than the British monarchy was back 250 years ago, that started a Revolutionary War. Our government today is more restrictive, more control, using fear to control people's lives. I keep saying the sheep are going to be sheep. I need to wake up the lions because I know there are a lot of lions out there, but they're just afraid to take that one extra step. Guys, we're losing our country. We're losing our freedoms. We are already a socialist country, and it's only going to get worse from it because that's only a half a step away from communism. And they're talking about controlling the banks, making a one world government, like the movie points out, and all this kind of stuff. I think one of my favorite lines in the movie was when Buck, played by Greg Perot, it's mostly his story, really, and he's debating with this woman who's all about, you know, the science and all, you know, there's going to be another vanishing because it's aliens or whatever it may be. And he just got in her face about it, and they cut it short for him because the studio he works for is a far left studio. They don't want him. They don't talk about that. Don't do this. So he looks at the camera and he says, "Well, we'll talk about this later, but don't be in any rush to get a vanishing vaccine." And it got a huge laugh in the movie theater. People absolutely loved it because they knew damn well what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. So I thought the writers put in a great line there, and that really got things going. I went to 2 screenings in 2 different states just to see the people's response. And I love the fact that they hung out for the credits and everything, and they were applauding. They were talking, and, you know, to the screen, all in positive ways. And, yeah, right on, you know, clapping. I said, this is pretty cool for a movie to do this.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a movie that I think generates a lot of talk for it, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the things we're talking about, because we are talking about just left-wing media and, you know, just the Hollywood culture right now. What is a way that you think that the average consumer can combat that woke ideology in Hollywood and bring more creators like yourself into the public eye?
Help fund our movies. I mean, it's, you know, I do movies in the $3 to $4 million range. People think that's a lot of money. That's catering budget in Pirates of the Caribbean. James Cameron has spent $400 or $500 million on these avatars that he's putting out there. Pirates of the Caribbean, Avengers, those are $300 million movies with a $100 million advertising budget. I don't have that luxury. I mean, I did, before the movies came out in theaters a little over 3 weeks ago, I did over 110 interviews over 7 days. I mean, it was crazy. In 10 hours a day, I'm sitting with you guys now. It's slowed down now because the movie's out there, and we're gearing up to get it out in about 6 weeks. They'll be out streaming on DVDs. But it's amazing the fight that I got to have to find. I mean, I golf with very wealthy guys in these charity events I do, and they're conservative guys, and I explain to them what I'm doing and the culture battle that Hollywood is kicking their butt in right now. Because you see what the agenda is Hollywood's got going. I can't get 10 minutes in a movie or a Netflix or whatever and go, oh gosh, here we go again. Can we just have a movie that all people can just enjoy, period? And I think Tom Cruise kind of proved that in the remake of the sequel to Top Gun. Everybody just loved that movie because it was just a fun movie. And so these guys will sit there and spend $10 million on a conservative that doesn't get elected. I'm going, I could have made 2 movies with that'd be up there forever, spreading hope, love, redemption, laughter, things that Hollywood just doesn't want to do anymore. movies with a positive message, movies that the good guy wins instead of the bad guy. Because Hollywood's been glamorizing the bad guy since the 60s. You know, the whole Vietnam War, the free love, the civil rights, you know, the rock and roll. And I love rock and roll. But I'm just saying it changed a lot of things. We started celebrating the bad guy, you know, the guy that was with the guy with the attitude. I mean, I look at these actors, these A-listers that come out every time there's a shooting somewhere. We got to get rid of guns. These are the same guys that just did a movie with guns killing 100 people. So the hypocrisy from these guys is so blatant and obvious, but a lot of people don't even think about that. They go, oh, but he's a big superstar, so we should do what he says. Yeah, let's get rid of guns. Now I'll tell people, if someone breaks into your house, I'm loaded. We got guns at this house, trust me. We shoot all the time. My boys are really good shots, and I'm a pretty damn good shot. And, you know, I say, well, if you get broken into a house and a guy's coming at you with a knife and or a gun, one of the two, what are you going to do? Would you feel more safe if you had a gun next to your bedside to protect your family? Or you're just going to sit? Because honestly, by the time you call 911, 911 is just going to call the coroner. Because let's face it, there's a lot of bad people out there. And I love the fact that we're seeing more and more people now defending themselves, defending their families. Because it's like every day it plays out now on the internet because everybody's got a camera. But, you know, our forefathers were brilliant. The whole thing about the Second Amendment was never about just hunting. The whole thing with that was, if you ever get a tyrannical government like the British monarchy was to us, this is to protect yourself against that government, because people forget it's we the people. It's we the people. And yet we put these bozos in office that get 40 years in office. We need to get rid of that. Now, term limits. Why can't we decide on term limits? Why don't you put that? They'll never put that out to the general public. Well, we should be able to put it out there ourselves, because it is we the people. They should get no more than 8 years. If the president at the most gets 8 years, then why should a Congress guy like Biden get 40 plus years of doing absolutely nothing, living off the taxpayers' dollars? I mean, it's insanity. Oh, and by the way, get rid of mail-in voting. It's a simple thing to do. Mm-hmm. You vote on the day of the election. Show your ID. There's nothing racist about showing an ID, because I don't care what ethnicity you are. If you go to a bank, if you go to fly a plane, you got to show an ID. So just show an ID and you get a vote with that. I mean, it's the lunacy of America right now is just so blatant and so preposterous, and people need to wake up and just, because I think the biggest killer in America right now, let alone the world, is apathy. Because people's attitude is, oh, what can I do? Well, if you all do just a little bit, can you imagine what 340 million people could do? It'd be pretty big.
No, you're absolutely right. Just the collective people, even if we're all doing a little bit, if everybody's doing it, it goes a long, long way.
Sure.
And I was kind of wondering, too, because you mentioned it was about 10, 12 years ago, you noticed that Republicans and Christians were sort of hiding in the closet, as you said earlier. Did you notice maybe before then if there was kind of a change, a slow change, to where that was eventually what ended up happening and where we are right now? Or did it feel pretty much overnight like, oh, hey, they just don't like this anymore?
I think it was slowly evolving. I mean, my wife started warning me about the stuff I was saying. I go, what am I saying? I'm saying the truth. She goes, yeah, but you know, Hollywood doesn't like the truth. And so of tens of millions of other people in this country. And she was right. But I think when Obama got in office, things started changing. I never really even thought about racism until he got in office. I really didn't. I thought the country was going along pretty darn well. And he got in office and just sort of playing that song over and over again. People forget he is half white. His black father deserted him, just like 80% of black fathers desert their families, 80% in America. But he played the black card, even though he was raised by his white mother and white grandparents. But people tend to just conveniently forget that. And it's just weird. I'm so sick of that card. I mean, I love, you know, people find out, I get people attacked. Oh, you're a homophobe because you're conservative. I'm going, I work in Hollywood. I've been in the business 40 years. Every set I've ever been on, there's always been at least one gay person. You won't find one of them in 40 years of this business saying that I was horrible to them, because I honestly don't care. What I care about is the constant force down my throat that I got to accept this and accept that. I've already accepted it. So let's move on. Instead of this whole, squeaky wheel stuff, it just gets exhausting. And, can we have a white parade? No, we can't have that. Okay. I lived in LA. They have a police Hispanic Day, police African American Day. I love the African American thing because there used to just be black or white things that. Well, I'm Norwegian American. I want a Norwegian American Day. Okay, I feel like I'm being slighted against my ethnicity, my heritage. We need more left than lutefisk on menus. I mean, it's just this whole thing now. The world we live in is to divide the country more and more and more. I just saw an article that Auburn University wants to get rid of urinals because that's affirming that you have a penis that makes you a man.
Oh my gosh.
Because apparently we have like 72 different, I mean, I don't know. So there must be 72 different sort of reproductive organs below the waist that I'm unaware of. But one day I'll figure it out.
No,
like I've only seen 2.
I know.
Can't help but laugh at
I was curious, kind of, I guess this is a 2-part question, kind of what got you into acting and what has kept you in acting? Because I'm sure it's evolved over the years.
Well, it was, I was young. I was 11 years old. I grew up in a small town just outside of Minneapolis. And beautiful Lake Minnetonka, it's called Little Mound, Minnesota. We're on the west end of Lake Minnetonka. Minnetonka is a very famous lake. It's about a dozen different bays all connected by channels. It's beautiful there. My little town was home to Tonka Toys. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know what Tonka Toys are. But
absolutely.
Lake Minnetonka, Tonka Toys. So that was our claim to fame there. And downtown Minneapolis has a theater called the Guthrie Theater. There's a lot of theaters in Minneapolis. Actually, there's more theater per capita there than there's on Broadway, and people really support the arts there. And we have a huge gay population in Minnesota. Apparently, I'm a homophobic of them. But anyway, I went to it was a field trip when I was in 5th grade. We went to see The Merchant of Venice, and it was Shakespeare. I don't know what the hell they're saying because it was Shakespeare, and I was 11 years old. But I was mesmerized by the actors on stage. And on the way home, my mom was one of the chaperones on the bus, and she said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, Mom, I think I'm going to be an actor." And she said, "That's nice, dear." But the seed was planted, and it wasn't really until I got to college. I had a double business major, marketing, advertising, but I had a minor in drama because I knew I wanted to do. I started doing commercial work in my college years. Minneapolis, St. Paul is headquartered to a lot of businesses like Best Buy and Target, and Honeywell, Pillsbury, General Mills, 3M. So I did a lot of commercials. So I got that all important Screen Actors Guild, that SAG card, that union card. So I had a great reel already put together. So I had no problem getting a commercial agent before I moved to Los Angeles. And so when I went out there, I didn't know anybody. But, I loaded up my beat up old car with all my earthly possessions that you can when you're in your 20s. And I moved out there and just hit it hard. I told myself, I'm a business major. A buddy of mine before I left said, "Sorbs, remember, it's called show business, not show. And I treated it like a business, and I busted my butt and had a lot of doors slammed in my face. I think most actors can probably tell the same story. It's all about rejection more than anything else. Because, I don't know how many SAG actors members are out there now. I don't know. I don't know if it's 750,000 or more or something, but at any given time, it's like 98% are unemployed. And I'm unemployed right now. I just finished a movie and I'm starting another movie in a month, but right now I'm not employed. But so for the most part, most of them aren't employed and most of them can't make a living at it. I've been very fortunate that I never had to work another job. And I've always been doing this business. So I just hit it hard and treated it like a business. And I was relentless in my pursuit. And when I got my break on Hercules, having no idea it was going to turn out the monster it turned into. By season 3, we became the most watched TV show in the world in 176 countries. And that really opened the door for me. And that really started everything for me to keep going. So grateful for that opportunity. So it was there. It was always there for me. My goal was I wanted to be in the Johnny Carson show. And he retired 9 months after I got Hercules. So I got to be in Jay Leno a number of times, but I always wanted to meet Johnny Carson. Never got that chance.
Man. So real quick, I guess I kind of want to bring it back to one of the things in the Left Behind movie.
Sure.
A big part of that seems to be a big thing. One of the themes it has is kind of learning from prophecy and using prophecy as sort of a tool, fulfilled prophecy as a tool just to kind of show people the truth, and what the Bible actually says is what the Bible actually says. And there's actually a little snippet there where you kind of talk about, using those prophecies and kind of mentioning your favorite prophecies. So I was wondering if maybe you had a favorite fulfilled prophecy of your own from the scriptures.
Not necessarily. I mean, to me, it was. I've been a Christian my whole life. My parents were very strong Lutherans. I grew up typical Scandinavian kid on the Lutheran Church of Minnesota. I went a long time for non-denominational church. Last 12 years now, I've been actually no 14 years now. I've been in the Calvary Church, Calgary Church. And they're great. I love what they do. My pastor's awesome. I've done a lot of work with Charlie Kirk as well, Turning Point USA. We've spoken at a couple places, and to me, it's sort of always been there. I never went through a phase where I said, you can question things, but to me, I never stopped believing there was, there's a God that created all this, because I had to just look at the stars and go, okay, you tell me this just happened. You got something out of nothing. Maybe one day, I think one day we will know, we'll understand. But you can't get something from nothing. I'm sitting at a chair and a desk right now. This desk just didn't appear. Somebody made it, right? So you need it. It just doesn't happen that way. And to me, I got atheist friends. We have great conversations with each other. But my attitude's always been, if I'm wrong, I've lost nothing. But if I'm right, see you later. So to me, it's just. It was never a question of not believing. I'm not perfect in any way. I don't think I'm better than people that are agnostic or atheist. It's unfortunate that in movies they make people like me, the bad guy. If you're conservative, you're a dumb, bumbling fool. You're the idiot. You're the bad guy. If you're a Christian, you're the bumbling idiot. You look what they do to families in sitcoms. They always have sitcoms. The dad's always kind of chunky, out of shape. The mom's always hot, and the kids treat dad like crap. So we've been teaching kids for decades to not have respect for parents. Certainly not their father. And I think you've seen the breakdown of the family. The social structure has just disappeared. And it's just, like I said, it just has perpetuated the hate and the anger out there. But I'm trying to do stuff that hopefully bring people together, because I get stopped all the time. Used because of Hercules or Andromeda. I get stopped all the time now because of movies like What If, and God's Not Dead, and Let There Be Light, and Soul Surfer. That's what people stop me for and say, please keep making more money, movies like that. Well, okay, then find me investors, because then I bust my hump to try to find people to get involved in these movies. I've yet to lose anybody money that has invested in my movies. So yeah, we're not making $1 billion like these Avatar movies are, but people don't realize those kind of movies and Avengers and stuff, they're gonna make at least $700, $800 million to break even. But worldwide they make $2 billion, so they keep making them. Eventually, people get tired of them. I'm kind of getting tired of them because it's the same beat over and over again. And how many more buildings in New York City got to fall down? And I look at that when I watch these visual effects, and I go, do you realize about 10,000 people just died? But nobody's talking about it.
No big deal.
Yeah.
They see the buildings fall down, explode. Cool, man, cool. I go, a lot of people were in those buildings, by the way, but we don't talk about that. I don't know. It's none of us are going to be Superman. None of us are going to be Hercules. I'm trying to do more movies now that have real people with real problems and real solutions, and hopefully redemption is the road that they follow.
Well, we're just about out of time, but I want to get this last question in for
Sure.
you. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk to us, though. I was curious if you had, I think it's a good way to end it, if you have a specific message that you maybe want to share with our audience.
You know what? Don't let anyone set your limitations. I think people let failure control their lives and let fear control their lives. And that's what I told you earlier, what government loves controlling others' fear. Don't be afraid. The Bible says the only person to fear is God. And that's in Proverbs. And I said, you got to, guys, the reality is it's up to you to look in the mirror and say, okay, I hit a roadblock. What am I going to do about it? God never promised a perfect life for any of us. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a believer or not. And you cannot let fear and failure control you and control your lives. And just giving up is not the answer. I'm a 13-year overnight success in Hollywood, okay? So you got to get out there and not be afraid to fall down, because you learn from failure. You learn from no. Those are positive things. Those aren't negative things. And people need to change their perspective on that. And I think you got to look in the mirror and find a place to like who you are and say, okay, this happened to me. What am I going to do about it? Because only you ultimately can make the difference in your life.
All right. Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist is in theaters now. So I would encourage anybody who wants to go see it or is curious to see it, go see it now while it's still in theaters.
Whose site? Go to leftbehindmovie.com, leftbehindmovie.com. You can see the trailer. You can see what theaters near you. And also come to sorbostudios.com, sorbostudios.com. All kinds of information on there. And one more place to go. I know I'm telling people quick to write these down. Another one is sorboisraeltrip.com. Our trip this year in May is completely booked out, but we're already ready for the one next year. So sorboisraeltrip.com. It's a great historical trip.
There we go. Awesome. A lot of good things coming down the pipeline. Kevin, thank you for coming on and just talking with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.